Argiddi from WIT Solapur. In this video, we'll focus on the content called as a function, which is from discrete mathematical structures. As we know that there are various types of functions, 4 types of functions. Out of that, in the previous 2 videos, we have seen what is onto function and what is into function. Now, in this video, let us put a light on one-to-one function. The learning outcomes of this particular session, student will be able to distinguish, or he will be able to identify the type of the function, whether it is into function, whether it is onto function, or it is one-to-one function. The content, we'll see what are the types of function, or we'll take just review what are the types of function. Then we'll see what is one-to-one function, we'll see the definition, and we'll see examples on one-to-one functions. As we know that there are 4 types of functions. One is called as onto function, that is also called as a surjective function. The second one is called as into function, and third one is called as a one-to-one, or it is also called as an injective function, and the fourth type is called one-to-one, onto, or it is also called as a bijective function. Now, just review what is onto function. A mapping say from x to y, it can be called as onto or surjective function if the range of the function is equal to set y. Okay, then it is called as a onto function. Then what is into function? If the mapping, a mapping from say x to y, it is defined as f, is called as into function if the range of the function is subset of y. It means that if suppose it is equal to set y, it is onto. If it is subset of y, then it is into function. Then let us see the third one, that is one-to-one function. Okay, there is a difference between one-to-one, onto. Now, how it is defined? A mapping of say set x to set y, which is called as as f, function f, and is called one-to-one, or it is also called as an injective function if the distinct elements of set x are mapped into distinct elements of set y. Means that the distinct elements of set x, they should be mapped to distinct element of set y. Okay, then it is called as one-to-one function. Now, I will go to the next slide for the example, so that it will be more clear to us how it is one-to-one or injective function. Now, let us focus on example 1 on one-to-one. Suppose set x is equal to the elements are x1, x2 and x3 from set x, and set y are y1, y2, y3 and y4. 4 elements are there in set y and 3 elements are there in set x, and function is defined in this way from set x to set y. x1 is mapped to y1 and x2 is mapped to y3 and x3 is mapped to y2. It means that in the figure, in the table, x1 is mapped to y1, x2 is mapped to y2 and x2 is mapped to y3 and x3 is mapped to y2. Means that all the elements of x are mapped, but all the elements of set y are not involved in the mapping. It means that set y means, first of all, let us see whether it is a function or not. Now, to verify that, first of all, the domain of the function should be equal to set x. Is it set x? whether all the elements of set X, that is x1, x2 and x3 are involved in the mapping. Yes, they are involved with the same elements of y. And then what is the range of the function? Range of the function means we have to consider only the elements of y which are involved in the mapping, okay, and the element which is not involved in the mapping should not consider. Here y1 is there in the mapping process, and y2 is also there with x3, and y3 is involved in with x2. Means that the range of the function is equal to y1, y2 and y3. Means it is just if you say that it is a into function, it is a into function, okay, plus whether it is a one-to-one function or not. Means for that we have to check that distinct elements, means whether x1 is mapped to separate element of y, whether x2 is mapped to separate element of y, and x3 also mapped to separate element of y. Means that nowhere we see that x1 is mapped to y1 or x2 is also mapped to y1. This is not a distinct mapping. Okay, if x1 and x2 both are mapped to y1, that is not called as a distinction, or distinct elements of x are mapped to distinct elements of y. Means that distinct elements of x are mapped to same elements of y. Okay, so that is not here. Means here the elements are of x are distinct and elements of y are also distinct. Let us go to the next slide. Now the same thing what I was explaining in the previous slide, distinct element of set x are mapped to distinct element of set y. Yes, it is there. So it is called as a one-to-one function. It is called as a one-to-one function, and plus it is also called as a into function. Means it is into as well as one-to-one, but it is not onto. Definitely it is not a onto function. But the first priority is one-to-one. Now let us go to the next slide, example 2, which is on, say, again one-to-one function. Here the example is set x is equal to, say, a, b, c, and set y is equal to, say, the elements are 0, 1, 2 and 3. 4 elements are there in set y and 3 elements are there in set x, and the function how it is given, the mapping is given from set x to set y. The mapping is a to, from set a, from x set x, a is mapped to 0 from y, b is mapped to 1 and c is mapped to 2. Okay, whether it is a, first of all, whether it is valid function? Yes. How? Because the domain of the function is equal to set x, that is all the elements of set x are involved, a, b, c. Okay, and secondly, whether all the elements are having unique value of y of set x. Yes, set a is having 0 or the element a is having a value 0 or which is mapped to 0, it is not mapped again to any other value of y. So that's why it's a unique mapping is there, and domain of the function is also set x. Now what about one-to-one function? The condition distinct elements of set x, whether they are mapped to distinct elements of set y. Means a is mapped to 0, okay, and b is mapped to, it is not mapped to again 0, it is mapped to separate element of y, that is 1, and c is also from set x is mapped to, it is not mapped to earlier values of y, that is 0 and 1, it is having separate value of y 2. So it is a, b, c, 0, 1, 2, a, b, c and 0, 1, 2. So here the condition of that distinct elements of set x are mapped to distinct elements of set y. So hence it is called as a one-to-one function, and it is also observed the range of the function is equal to 0, 1, 2, okay, which is subset of y. Means it is again into function is there, okay, into function as well as one-to-one function. Now let us go to the next slide. Now here take a pause or take a minute and from the example, try to identify the type of the function. Now here example is given like this: x is equal to 15 p jack and y is equal to 257 q jill, and mapping is 1257 pq jack and jill, and that mapping is given shown also in this particular slide. Now what is the answer? Whether distinct elements of set X are mapped to distinct elements of set Y? Yes, it is there. Yes, it is there. Answer is, it is one-to-one function, because if you look at this particular, 1 is mapped to 2, 5 is mapped to 7, P is mapped to Q, and Jack is mapped to Jill. Means nowhere duplication is there. So hence it is a. I hope you have understood what do you mean by one-to-one function. Okay. These are the references, and thank you very much for watching this video patiently. Thank you.